So, I don't normally make reading goals over the past couple years, but for some reason this year I am feeling inspired. I've been thinking about it for a couple weeks now, and just kind of some reading goals like basically naturally formed in my mind. So, I thought we could talk about them because I just made my little bullet journal documenting them. I do have a few specific goals related to reading that were in my language learning goals. So if you are interested in language learning, you can check out that video, that whole channel. But I'll just run through them quickly here, the ones that are relevant. I want to read from 6 new Spanish-speaking countries. I am trying to read from all the Spanish-speaking countries, and I think I'm like 40% through maybe. So I still have quite some ways to go, but 6 minimum this year. I want to finish the backlist of the author Samantha Schweblin, who is an Argentinian author. I currently have 2 books left. I want to read 5 Isabel Allende books. I am trying to read her entire catalog as well. It's very long. She has a lot of books, so also not very far into that yet, but I want to read 5 more. I have already read 1 this year, so. Then this one's not really reading, but I want to do a 30-day reading aloud challenge in Spanish. So on to the general reading goals. So the inspiration basically for this is that prior to 2025, I felt like my reading was being quite driven by the books that I was hearing about online. I've always consumed a lot of book-related content, media, and so that really like revolutionized my reading around, the early 2020s, when I picked up reading again as a hobby after, being way too busy to read for many years. So I'm so grateful for the amount of inspiration that I've gotten from different content creators and people boosting books that I would never have heard of without them. But I feel like for some time I over-relied on that, I guess. Prior to consuming a lot of book content, I would find things, going to mostly used bookstores and just picking up things that seemed interesting to me, going to the library and picking up things. And I still do that to some extent, but I think as the years went on, I did it less and less, I guess. And so in 2025, I was like, I'm just going to let the wind take me where it wills. And I did obviously still take recommendations, still read some books that I had heard about online or from other, sources. But overall, I just let myself read whatever captured my interest in the moment, pretty much. And I had one of the most mediocre reading years that I've had in years. And so I was like, perhaps this was a miscalculation. And so I think, my goal is to be balanced on this, because to be fair, I did discover a few books that I had never heard of from anyone else, still have never seen anyone else talk about, but were some of my favorites. So it was not a complete fail by any stretch, but nonetheless, still most of my favorite books of the year were ones that I did find out about online, find out about from, trusted recommenders. So the sum total, the summary of this long story is that my goal, what I have written down, is balance discovery and spontaneity with curation and intentionality. So I think that is, that's my goal, to do both. Next, I want to keep a commonplace book, or at least some other form of archiving quotes, whether even if that's just as simple as taking a photo of the page and highlighting it on my phone and putting it on Instagram. That's a very, very easy, natural way for me to keep an archive of quotes that I really enjoyed from different books, and I do actually go back and read them when I do that. I am doing a commonplace book in Spanish in a digital form. I also have a video where I talk about that you can watch if you are interested in, but I might start a commonplace book for other languages, like for reading in English as well. But even if I don't, I want to be intentional about keeping archive of things that I really like. This is obviously super trendy right now, but not to be like I did this before it was trendy, but I did start doing this last year, and then even prior to that, as a kid, I was obsessed with quotes. I was one of those like people who, you know, as soon as I discovered Tumblr, it was like heaven on earth, because even before Tumblr, I would have notebooks where I made collages with quotes. Like, I've always been a quote person, and so I have kind of lost that natural inclination to archive quotes, and I want to regain that. Then I want to start getting to that kind of ever running list of books that you have in your head that you're like, I really need to get to that book. You know, like books that you've known for years or maybe even decades that you want to read, but you just like never make the time to read them. In large majority, a lot of these are classics. Just super random, but the two examples that have come to my mind are Lolita. I have always wanted to read Lolita. I know it's super controversial, obviously, but I've read multiple like modern takes on Lolita, and I've never read the original, and so I would like to read it. I also want to read Kindred by Octavia Butler. Have been meaning to read that for probably close to a decade now, and still haven't gotten to it. But I want to be intentional about building this list, and then I also want to be intentional about reading from it. Not that I necessarily need to read every single book that I put on that list, but be intentional about picking up those books, because to be honest, once a book has been out for that long, there's not normally going to be any outside impetus for you to pick it up. You have to do that yourself, and so this will be my form of doing that. And then reading nonfiction. So I did sort of spontaneously convert a book club that I was doing into a nonfiction book club at the end of last year. I do have two book clubs. One is multilingual book, like so you can read in whatever language you want to read in, and one is nonfiction. And so both of those are free to join. You are welcome to check them out. Linked, of course. The nonfiction book club I started because I really want to be a lot more proactive about choosing critical, impactful nonfiction reads. I used to be a lot better about reading like theory, history, sociology, that kind of stuff, and I've really fallen off of it over the past couple of years. And so I'm making that effort to pick that back up. But yeah, I just want to make sure that this whole year I am being very proactive about curating my nonfiction reads, because I know myself that I will not make time to read many of them. So if I'm reading that one book per month, that's good. I just need to make sure that those are really good choices. So those are my reading goals for the year. I'm not taking on any insane projects or anything in the reading world this year, because I really do just want to focus on quality. Not that every book has to be like some literary masterpiece. I still am going to work in plenty of fun reads, but yeah, was really disappointed with how I felt about my reading year last year, and I don't want to feel that way again. So if you have reading goals that you would like to share, I would love to hear about them. If you made a video about this, definitely let me know so I can watch it, and I will see you in the next video.